Okay, so are you ready to dive into some ancient history? We're talking like conquest and spoils of war and, all the stories behind them.
Yeah, let's do it.
You sent over Numbers chapters 31 through 33, and wow,
Lots to unpack there.
there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
We are dealing with a pivotal moment for the Israelites.
A moment that I think really kind of gives us a glimpse into their beliefs and their social structure, even their economy.
Yeah.
It's all there in these chapters.
It starts off with a bang, right?
Yeah.
Numbers 31, verse 1, God commands Moses to take vengeance on the Midianites. Can you set the stage for us? Who are the Midianites, and what led to this divine command?
So picture this. The Israelites, fresh out of Egypt after generations of slavery, are finally on the cusp of entering the Promised Land.
Right.
Now, the Midianites were a nomadic group, and according to the biblical account, they presented a significant threat. And it wasn't just about territory. It was about a deeper conflict of faith and survival.
There's even that mention of the Council of Balaam and a devastating plague. Sounds like a story in itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We could do a whole deep dive on just that. In short, Balaam was a prophet hired by the Moabites who were in league with the Midianites to curse the Israelites. But divine intervention kicked in instead of curses. Balaam ends up blessing them.
Okay, so a little plot twist there.
Right. But it doesn't end there.
Oh, boy.
Despite this, the Midianites, perhaps following Balaam's advice, used some, let's say, unconventional tactics to lead the Israelites astray. We're talking idolatry, questionable morals, the result. A plague that really did some damage.
So this wasn't just a random Tuesday skirmish. There's a deep history here, a buildup of tension.
Exactly. And understanding that context is crucial, especially when we encounter the concept of holy war, as described in the Bible.
Yeah.
It wasn't about grabbing land or resources like we might think of warfare today.
Right.
It was different.
So how is it different?
For the Israelites, war was divinely ordained. It was about God being directly involved, guiding their actions and deciding the outcome.
And that leads us right into the battle itself.
Yeah.
Numbers 31.711 doesn't hold back on the details. We're talking a complete victory with the Midianite men defeated and the women and children taken captive.
And here's where we have to pause and put on our historical and ethical lenses. Remember, our goal is to explore these events, not to shy away from the parts that are hard to read through a modern lens.
And it does get even more complex, especially when we read verses 17 and 18. Moses instructs the Israelites to kill all the male children and any woman who wasn't a virgin.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff.
Definitely a challenging passage.
Yeah.
From where we stand now, it's easy to judge.
Right.
But to even begin to process it, we have to try to understand the mindset of people living in a completely different time and culture.
Can you help us bridge that gap a little? What were some of the factors that might shed light on these practices without, of course, excusing them?
One major difference is how ancient societies viewed collective identity and responsibility. Entire communities were held accountable for the actions of individuals or groups within them. Also in ancient warfare, women and children were often considered possessions. The command regarding virgins might reflect attempts to integrate some survivors into Israelite society, on their terms, of course, which were harsh by today's standards.
So a different world with a different set of values and beliefs, even if it's difficult to reconcile with our own.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that these ancient texts often leave us with more questions than answers,
It sure does.
prompting us to keep digging deeper.
Which is what this deep dive is all about. We're giving you the information and context to grapple with these challenging aspects of history yourself. Okay, so after that intense battle, we kind of shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
The narrative moves on to the spoils of war.
Right.
And let me tell you, Numbers 31.2554,
Yeah.
it goes into incredible detail about how everything gets divided up.
Yeah, it's very specific.
I mean, we're talking massive herds of sheep, cattle, donkeys, you name it, they counted it.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
It really is.
All that detail isn't just about keeping inventory.
Okay.
It points to a crucial aspect of Israelite society.
Okay.
They had a system for handling these spoils, one that was deeply rooted in their religious beliefs.
Right. There's that whole concept of the tribute tax to the Lord,
Yes.
mentioned in Numbers 31.2830.
Right.
What's the significance of that?
It's about recognizing God's role in the victory.
Okay.
A portion of what they gained, specifically 1/5 of the livestock and captives, was set aside as a sacred offering.
Wow.
And this practice served a few purposes.
Okay.
For one, it helped prevent idolatry by redirecting any potential worship of these captured goods.
Right.
So, they weren't supposed to be worshiping idols. And so this kind of took that temptation away.
Right.
It was a powerful way of reinforcing the idea that victory came from God, not just human strength.
It's like saying, this win, it's not just ours, it belongs to something bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get into the breakdown of who receives what percentage of the spoils.
Right.
The warriors, the congregation, even the Levites.
And this is where it gets really interesting to me. The Levites, who were the priestly tribe and didn't actually fight in the battle, still received a share 1/50th of the Israelites' portion.
That detail highlights their unique role within Israelite society.
Yeah.
They were responsible for the spiritual well-being of the community, the care of the tabernacle, and preserving their religious knowledge and rituals.
It's like they were fighting a different kind of battle, so to speak.
Precisely. The division of spoils wasn't just about rewarding individual soldiers. It was about providing for the whole community, maintaining that social fabric.
Right.
Everyone had a part to play, and the system was designed to ensure everyone benefited from the victory, even if they weren't on the front lines.
You know, it makes you think about how societies throughout history have grappled with these ideas of fairness and how to distribute resources. It's not a new dilemma by any means.
Absolutely. And what we see here in Numbers is a system that tried to balance individual gain with collective well-being, all underpinned by their covenant with God.
It really gives you a whole new perspective on what we might think of as ancient economics. This wasn't just bartering in the marketplace. There were complex systems at play.
Systems designed to sustain a community, even in the face of conflict. And speaking of facing challenges, Chapter 32 takes us to a potential turning point in the narrative. We encounter the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh.
Okay.
They've got their sights set on some prime real estate east of the Jordan River.
The land of Gilead, right, described as perfect for their herds of livestock, which makes sense considering these were pastoral societies. Good grazing land was like gold to them.
Exactly. And they don't waste any time making their case to Moses.
Right.
But as you can imagine, it doesn't go down without a hitch.
Oh, no.
Moses brings up past disobedience, specifically mentioning the whole Council of Balaam incident again. It's like that event cast a long shadow over their entire journey.
Like he's thinking, come on, guys, we've cast so far. Let's repeat history here. It highlights the weight of leadership. What did you say?
Absolutely. Moses felt that immense responsibility to guide his people toward a future free from those past mistakes. There was a genuine concern that settling east of the Jordan might create division among the tribes, making it harder to present a united front when they went on to conquer Canaan. And of course, there was the risk of them becoming too comfortable, losing sight of that ultimate goal, the Promised Land.
Right. It's that classic tension between immediate gratification and long-term vision. But the tribes, to their credit, they do come back with a compromise, right?
They do, and it's a big one.
Okay.
They pledged to send their fighting men across the Jordan to fight alongside their brethren until Canaan is secured. They're essentially saying, we're with you all the way, even if our families are putting down roots here.
And Moses, recognizing their sincerity, their commitment, ultimately agrees. It's a powerful moment that shows the delicate balance between those individual desires and collective goals, a tension that's still so relevant today. So we've got this compromise, these tribes starting to build a life for themselves in Gilead. And Numbers 32.34-38 even names the cities they built: Dibon, Adaroth, Jazer.
Right.
These weren't just temporary camps.
Not at all. They were putting down roots, literally.
Yeah.
Raising families, establishing trade routes. It really challenges the image we often have of this period as just constant wandering. These verses paint a picture of permanence, of a people creating a legacy for themselves.
It's like a whole other layer to their story, But then, bam, we get to Numbers 33, and it's like suddenly we're on this whirlwind tour of every single place the Israelites stopped on their journey from Egypt.
Think of it as the ancient world's version of a road trip itinerary. Every stop meticulously recorded. But it's so much more than just a geographical log. This chapter is all about identity. It's a testament to God's faithfulness in guiding them through the wilderness for 40 years.
It's almost like a communal scrapbook, isn't it? You can practically hear the shared memories in every place name, the challenges they overcame, the steps that brought them closer to the Promised Land.
And imagine the impact this recounting would have had on future generations. It becomes a story of resilience, of looking uncertainty in the eye and moving forward with courage and faith.
It's a powerful message that even when you're feeling lost or unsure, there's always a path forward, always something to learn from the journey itself.
And speaking of moving forward, this leads us to those final instructions in Numbers 33.50, 5-6, the command to drive out the inhabitants of Canaan, but also those stark warnings about what might happen if they don't.
Which brings us to that thought-provoking question you always leave us with.
Okay.
What's the deeper meaning here? Because clearly it's about more than just physical territory, right?
Exactly. This idea of possession. It goes way beyond land or physical objects. It makes you think, what does it really mean to possess something? Is it about control dominance? Or is it something more internal, that change in your heart, your mindset?
Maybe it's the striving itself, that constant effort to learn and grow that ultimately defines what we truly possess.
That's a really interesting thought, and one that I think we can all relate to even thousands of years after these words were written.
Definitely a lot to ponder. And on that note, we'll leave you to continue this deep dive on your own. Thanks for exploring these fascinating and sometimes challenging chapters of Numbers with us.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.